So, y'all guys know when I do these album reviews, I be like having like some kind of like weird skit relating to the album or something like that. I really couldn't figure one out for this album, so I was lucky enough in time to actually get this from one of my friends recently. I was lucky enough to get this in time, so I just thought we might as well open it up, you know, to start this album review. If I can figure out how to open it up. God dang, I hate opening these freaking vinyls. There we go. Alright, just to make sure we actually got it. The record's actually working though. We got a little record player over here, and I'm gonna set it up real quick. That's pretty dope, actually. That's pretty dope. I think if I play here, it'll play Evolution, so let's see. Yeah. Maybe hope for what I won't get. Temporary happiness only lasts until you grow sick. And the lights start to go dim. And the walls start to close in. And the time starts to pass you by. Don't act surprised. Better be careful. That's dope. That's dope. Shout out to whoever. Shout out to my friend who bought me this record. Let's get into the album review. So another tradition of these album reviews would bring out the fake mic. And now we actually get to talk about Joyner Lucas, Evolution. Released not even a full year after his ADHD album, we got a mixtape featuring some brand new content and a new mature level out of Joyner Lucas compared to ADHD, which in my original review, my very first album review on the channel was to ADHD, and I gave that an increasingly high rating. Like, I'm just to make sure, you know, we're going to be shitting on that ADHD throughout this album review. I'm just giving you guys the advance, you know, but just to make sure when I was writing the script for this review that I wasn't being like too critical about the album. I just listened to it recently. It's a lot worse than I remember it. Like, oh my god, there are way too many unnecessary tracks. There are so many bad bars throughout that project, and there are just so many tracks that I had on my favorite Joyner Lucas tracks like playlist on Spotify, and not even there anymore, you know. Like, it was just god awful. And just seeing the reviews of other review channels like giving ADHD, I completely agree with them. If I had to re-rank ADHD, I would give it like maybe a 4. Maybe a 4. That's lower than what I would re-rank Whole Lotta Red. Like, and that's how you know ADHD was bad. If it's lower than Whole Lotta Red, even after I re-rank it, that's how you know ADHD is bad. But with Joyner Lucas's Evolution, like I said, it was released not even a whole year after ADHD. We saw a more mature and grown up like tone to Joyner Lucas compared to what he had on ADHD, and I absolutely like this project. Just feels so much more complete, so much more wholesome, and just there's a lot more content to this project than we would have ever got with ADHD. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the tracks.
What's going on with you? You've been kind of off lately. Everything okay at home?
Yeah, everything's fine at home, I guess.
How come you didn't participate in...
Once again, we open this album up to a young Joyner Lucas speaking with an adult. This time, we hear a teacher ask him, what does he want to be when he grows up? And Joyner responds with a very complex answer, saying he wants to be an entrepreneur and be his own boss. Coming from a man who's been an independent artist since last year, this intro shows how serious Joyner is working solo, especially since in this era, it's very difficult for any artist to manage themselves and increase their fan base. From the gate, we're getting a very different vibe from Joyner on this EP compared to ADHD already.
Evolution. Hope I don't finish last. I'm still healing from my past. I need some retribution. Did a lot of getting even, but I'm sick and tired of beefing. What's the rest?
This title track shows Joyner reflecting on his success in his past to get to where he's at now. However, he also admits while he wanted the fame, he now realizes how his popularity has changed him, which sounds like the same concept behind I Lied from ADHD,
but the way he executes and demonstrates his maturity on this beautiful instrumental and with his delivery of this song, I could really appreciate Joyner being honest with the listeners. Only one track in, and this EP is already better than ADHD.
My message and use it and turn it into something positive and to at least have a good life.
If it ain't black on, I'm probably gonna use it to chop crack on. Hard white for all them hard nights.
While Iyla provides an amazing hook on this soothing beat, Joyner takes his verse to explain how, as an adult, he's still evolving himself. He's still learning as a man, rapper, and adult. He mentions how he's learned who to trust in his circle of friends, taught his son the only things in life that are guaranteed, and how he understands the message that Tupac and XXXTentacion portrayed in their music. Then the game hops on the track to reflect on his tragic days living in Compton, smoking crack, fighting with his teachers, and being slandered by people who he thought were his brothers. He ties the track up by referencing the murder of George Floyd, which resulted in the BLM movement that occurred last summer. Overall, this is the best collaboration on Evolution and impossible track to hate.
Black women past, black mama sad, black pride all the black women had, black rage for the black woman mad, black men calling black women trash, black women hurt, let you back in, black women keep protecting black men don't protect.
I don't know why, but this track is no longer available for me on my Spotify, and Joyner doesn't even have this track individually uploaded to his YouTube. But for the things I've seen, Joyner stands up for the black women in America, rapping about how much struggle they go through on an everyday basis and how awful and underappreciated they are. I love the message and the meaning behind this track, but if you haven't heard this track before, there's a lack of penmanship from Joyner on this one, as he repeats black women an insanely number of times. I get that this track is telling the world we don't show our black queens enough love, and I believe we should show them way more love, but Joyner has executed this message better in the past, whether I'm Not Racist or even the previous track. I will give props to the beautiful female vocals on the chorus on this track though.
Hate it. I got a beam and I'm anxious to race it. Room right past you. Cops keep following a nigga, that's bad news. I don't like hassles. Suck it down, Remy, and I'm feeling like Pat Poops. Hope I don't crash you.
You know Joyner had to put at least one track to turn up the listeners. Zim Zimma has a very catchy beat where Joyner rides it perfectly, explaining how he's worked hard to earn his own cash royalties. He keeps it real throughout this track, turning up anyone who hears it while still being a real lyricist, especially with the last verse where he completely spazzes with his signature fast flow. While it may seem odd to be on this project, it still fits the theme of evolution, and that was the problem with his prior album. He didn't have a solid execution with the delivery of his tracks, and the tracklist order was a real cluster.
Before we figure out anything, I just want to point out that what Christine came up and told me wasn't her business, was it? No. And what
We're taking back to Joyner's classroom, where the teacher explains how tattle telling nor snitching isn't received with a very positive outcome. Teacher has the kids repeat the saying, snitches get stitches, which leads to the next track. I'm not mad at this skit, as it adds a comical factor and an intro for the story of the following song.
Come with a price, and if you folding, you should know that we ain't nothing alike. And if you leaving here tonight, you better cop a burner. Don't fuck around and be somebody, ain't nobody heard of. Now here's your choice, be a man or be some.
We hear the term snitch nowadays and think of a certain fruit-haired emo screamer. However, Joyner addressed on The Breakfast Club that this song isn't aimed at Snitch 9. Instead, this song talks about how snitching has become more acceptable nowadays to anyone between a rock and a hard place. He uses his perspective rapping to tell the thoughts of a conscience being interrogated. One side argues to tell the police everything, while the other side says stay loyal to their morals and the code. Joyner explains the results of both options, how you could walk out a free man and be murdered for snitching, or take the blame but possibly be in prison for the rest of your life. Finally, we hear a man snitching on his crew, but he meets his end as the track closes. The execution of Joyner's storytelling, the music video, and after all the incidents with the tattletale rapper, this song is perfect and one of the realest tracks Joyner's ever made.
Wonder how crazy my son to get. I wrote a book and then buried it, covered it. Hope that he never discovered it. Wonder if he only knew all the shit that he up against. I gotta put me in front of it. I want it all and they only want some of it. I think I need me a ton of it.
Here, Joyner feels very confident and aware of how straight he is. He stands his ground to any haters, snakes, or anyone who's trying to beef with him. While it's not one of my favorite tracks from Evolution, I appreciate it for what it is.
I love you more than I love myself. If you weren't with me, I can't picture you as someone else.
ADHD had way too many club bangers or love songs that are some of Joyner's weakest songs in his discography. However, this time, he has Ashanti sing a god-beautiful chorus. And for once, Joyner sounds very mature on a love song. Not flexing about how much ass he gives, but instead writing a very relatable love song. He's aware of how this woman is bad for him. Now, he's bad for her, but their love is too strong for them to be apart from each other. I feel we don't need any more love songs from Joyner after this, because not only was this a completely different vibe from Joyner, but this is one of the best songs Joyner's ever made.
To herself and don't be in my business, don't talk to nobody, not even my niggas. I swear that her booty's a heavy addiction. I just wanna hit it in every position. I'm very consistent, I don't wanna cuddle. She very submissive with every decision and shorty your balls.
I really meant it when I said Fall Slowly needs to be the last love song from Joyner. But nope. And while there's nothing too bad about this track, you can't follow up the previous track with this song. Especially since The Problem has the same theme of Fall Slowly, but the writing structure of Revenge from ADHD. Also, this track seems pointless when Joyner said on the title track, "If I ain't the solution, guess I'm part of the problem." Yeah. To me, it just seems like this line from the second track perfectly summarizes this song.
They play this when I'm gone and I'll be resurrected.
I done seen a couple niggas lose their life over $1. And they hit the hardest when it's...
This song used to be in my Joyner Lucas playlist. While I still enjoy the song, I don't believe Joyner has the status nor catalog to declare himself a legend yet. He's undoubtedly on his way, but do I have to remind y'all of ADHD? Even though I've done enough of that in this video alone? And I enjoy both Joyner and Rick Ross's verse, but even the Rick Ross feature isn't worth the title of a legend. Sure, he's filthy rich, but not one of the first people you consider a legend in hip-hop. I'm being a little critical on this track, but I still enjoy hearing it every time I play this EP.
Nice. Nice.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. Joyner, what is this? This card says, Happy Father's Day, Stepdad. Why?
As we're coming to the end of Evolution, we hear one more skit where Joyner is in the classroom. The teacher is collecting Father's Day cards from all the kids, and as she collects Joyner's, she realizes that it's for his stepdad. She decides to keep the card though, as she tells Joyner that he only gets one dad. Honestly, the placement of the skits on this project are incredible, and that's one positive factor I must give Joyner on Evolution and ADHD. As the tracks phase away, we transition in the final and most personal song on this EP.
Music to try to compete with Bow Wow. Your father died when you was young, I think that made a scar. I started thinking maybe that's why you the way you are. End of the day, no excuse for how you played your part. Told myself when I...
Not gonna lie, I was very skeptical about this track at first. Like a River marks the second collaboration between Joyner and Elijah James. Their first collab, Slow Down, was a very okay love song, so I was hesitant when I saw them together at the end of this project. However, they impressed me with this one. Elijah sings a pleasing chorus, whereas Joyner continues the theme established on the previous skit. He talks about how he never grew up with a dad who was always there for him while reflecting on his own abilities as a parent. He talks about how he idolized his dad, how he started rapping to impress him, and how he was in and out of foster homes because of him. However, Joyner learns from his past incidents and promises that he will not put his own son through a similar situation. Like I said earlier, this is one of the most personal tracks Joyner has ever made, and honestly, a track that concludes this very solid project from a man who early in the year dropped one of the worst projects of 2020. So, compared to my ADHD album review, this was a lot more different. I think with my original album review too, I think the problem was I only gave him maybe 2 weeks worth of straight listening, whereas Evolution and every album review since ADHD, I've actually given months of time to grow on me, for me to make an opinion, a rating system, like talk about the tracks in a way that it doesn't seem like too biased, But I mean, like, these are my opinions, so of course there's going to be some bias of like thoughts and comments throughout these tracks. But I could definitely say Evolution is a way better album than ADHD, and I was like, it's painful to go back to hear ADHD after what this is, what this project is and how much it has grown on me, And honestly, like, I don't think, like, as short as it is, I don't think Joyner needs to drop anything this year, I think Evolution can hold off until, like, at least 2022. But what are my final thoughts of the project, you know? Here they are. Like I said, I let this one grow on me a little bit more, and I think maybe the higher rating is because of my hatred towards ADHD. Like, that might be the reason why I rate it so high. But I mean, it's a short project. It really sticks to a theme. Really no skips at all. You know, anybody could really listen to it. And Joyner, like, he just sounds so relatable, you know, to anyone. From like the Snitch song, Like a River, Fall Slowly, Evolution. There are just so many like relatable tracks on this record compared to ADHD, you know, which there are still highlights from ADHD that I think he mastered, such as Will. Let's see, the ISIS song, you know, even though that doesn't really even have to do with ADHD. And that was the problem with ADHD, was just the fact that it wasn't consistent throughout the entire project. It just seemed like it was just a bait to gain money when Joyner was running low on cash, because he was released 10 singles throughout the release until ADHD was finally dropped in early 2020. Whereas Evolution, there was only 2 singles dropped before Evolution dropped, and then the Like a River music video came out, I think, like 2 months afterwards, you know? So, and right now when I'm recording this, I haven't even reacted to the Zim Zimma music video yet, but that's been in the talks for a while, you know? So Joyner didn't nearly grind Evolution and piss as many people off with Evolution like he did ADHD, you know? So that's my final thoughts about it. I love this project, man. I'm shout out to my friend who got me the vinyl once again. I really appreciate it, you know. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys enjoy, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, comment down below what you guys want to see me review next, you know. Like I said, I'm trying to get more serious about the album reviews. If you look down below in the description, there will be my social media. I'm very active on Snapchat, so if you guys want to give me suggestions there, you can. But other than that, man, this has been my album review to Joyner Lucas's Evolution mixtape, EP, whatever you want to call it. But thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.